So just to qualify again, walking in the light, normally is not this type of experience, what I've been talking about in this session and also the last session. But it reminds me of when Isaiah encountered the Lord, and how he felt when he saw the glory, and it was, encountered with the brightness of God's presence, and it caused him just to bow down, and see himself for what he really was and cry out for mercy from God. Book of Revelation, the beloved disciple John sees Jesus, in an increased light and brightness. And he also falls to his face. And, so the way that we're struck when revelation increases and light increases, it's going to not always be fun, right? So just to clarify again, one type of darkness we cast off, and this will usually be the case. One type of darkness we cast off, the other we embrace. So there will be seasons again where you just have to, see what God's doing in your life, discern it, and grow through it. So Gethsemane, is not an everyday occurrence in our lives. Thankfully, it's more of an intense strategic encounter engineered by God, like it was for Jesus, for a season, so it does not happen on a recurring basis or a frequent basis. It was about 12 years ago, I was just looking at it in my journal, I think it was 2008, that I was going through a season of just learning humility. I was actually reading a classic book on humility by Andrew Murray, and really seeking from the Lord to do a deeper work in my heart. And I felt him, really clearly speak to me one day. And he said, "You must be able to come into the garden when I call you." Clear as a bell, I heard that. And, Gethsemane was the place that the Father called Jesus to. And it was in that place where Jesus called the Father Abba. Happened right there in Gethsemane. There's only two other places, one in Romans 8, one in Galatians, where the word Abba is used in relation to God the Father. But here in Gethsemane is when Jesus, in the midst of his emotional turmoil, had intimacy with his Father. And, we all know that the path to the cross passes through the garden, right? So we're all for the cross, lead me to Calvary, stay close to the cross, stay tender, stay humble. But oftentimes you go through the garden first on the way to the cross. And it's a purging, it's a refining, intimacy may sound like kind of a passive term, being close to God, like having a nice picnic, on a hillside or something. But it really takes spiritual violence and contending to acquire intimacy with God and to maintain it. And there will be inward resistance. But I found that in the seasons of darkness that I go through, where I'm warring against the enemy, but at the same time I'm saying yes to God in terms of whatever he wants to do, whatever he wants to reveal about me, it tenderizes me. It's the place of the tenderized heart. And being overwhelmed can be a great tenderizer. So another thing that I've heard the Lord say to me is that when I want to go deeper in God, it usually means that he is going to go deeper in me. Going deeper in God usually means God will go deeper in you. So Lord, I want to go deeper in you, increase our relationship, increase our communion, our bonding together. And he says, okay, I'm going to have to go deeper in you, Mike, to just rearrange a few things and show you a few things about yourself that need to be adjusted. And in his mercy, he does that. So I say, more of you, Lord, more of you, deeper rooting in your presence, remove all that hinders love in my heart. Ooh, pretty strong prayers. And so it's okay then to come to that place. The Bible talks about blessed are the poor in spirit. It's okay to come to that place. It's healthy to come to that place where you're just desperate for God, leaning on him, you're not condemning yourself. You're not, berating yourself or hating yourself. You're just needy, and you press into God in that place of being poor in spirit. And I also noted that all of the disciples learned something about themselves in the garden, right? They learned that they were weak. They ran away, even after professing that they would be strong and faithful, even to death. And the garden is also the place where the betrayer is revealed. Now, in the natural, we know Judas was revealed there as the betrayer. He was an apostle. He was doing signs and wonders. He was doing ministry. He was amongst them. But when it got closer and closer to the cross, he succumbed to the depravity of his heart. And this potential exists in all of us. None of us is immune to, falling away or betraying God in some way. And the garden, Gethsemane, will be the proving ground. Heart issues come to the surface under pressure. And this is truly the mercy of God. So I'm so thankful that for me, as I've alluded to, the season that I went through about midway through this year of 2020, the work he was doing in my heart. And when you're in that place, the garden, the place of pressing darkness and obscurity and hiddenness and being uncomfortable in different ways, that's the place where we will consider all the alternatives to the cross, like Jesus did. Is there any other way? Is there any other method of consecration? Is this the only way? So that's going to happen to us when we go through those seasons. And finally, just one more quote from Gerald May, and I'm going to put up the book images right now. So Gerald May, Dark Night of the Soul, just put that up there for you. Again, do not read this book unless you really need to. It's a seasonal book, in my opinion. Book for a certain type of season. And then also I'm going to put up there Anonymous by Alicia Britt Chole. Classic book on just the hidden years of Jesus' life, the first 30 years of his life. This is a great read. I think I've read it at least 3 times and refer back to it often. So 2 great books I want to recommend to you. So one final quote from Gerald May in The Dark Night of the Soul. He says, "It is not at all uncommon in experiences of the night for individuals to doubt that they even believe in God anymore because of all the signs and hallmarks of what they considered to be their faith are disappearing." Wow. Thankfully, we will not come to that place very often in our spiritual walk, most of us. But I can recall just feeling like, wow, all the signs, all the hallmarks of what I've been used to in my faith don't seem to be around anymore. And I can really empathize with people that have, they call it deconstructing the faith, or people that maybe were well-known preachers or musicians, worship leaders, people like that. I can understand where people, just can't do it anymore, or they've come to a place where they're overwhelmed. I get that. And so rather than be judgmental, which is easy to do on the front end of that, let's have mercy and pray when we hear situations like that. And also when we look in the mirror and find ourselves maybe in a similar situation, though we may not be famous or well known, but let's give mercy to ourselves as well. So grace and peace to you as you listen through these sessions. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. God bless.